Hello and welcome to Boomer 11 Live. And today we're going to be talking about the Carabao Cup final where the two Uniteds came together against each other. It was Manchester versus Newcastle. But only one of them could take the trophy away. I have with me Abel. Abel, new haircut and a new trophy for Eric Ten Hag.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely. I didn't want to go as short as Eric Ten Hag's hair, but nonetheless, I think I am the lucky charm for United in terms of getting that first trophy after 5 years. Last time around, I cut my hair very short was in 2017, just to note to point, and that's when they last won a trophy. And I think it has to do,
Yeah.
my hair growth means their trophy drought. When I cut my hair short, the trophy drought ends. So that's a very right way to put it right there. But nonetheless, I'm super
Yeah.
excited about my neighbors. I'm a huge fan of Eric Ten Hag. I've always been a big fan. Always wanted him to coach Barcelona because he was very close to coaching Barcelona long ago. But it isn't about that and now. It is about just Manchester United. What a beautiful one. And I think we've been simping way too much on Manchester United over the last 1 week, and it's deservingly right that we've been doing so because it's been a fantastic run for Manchester United, and they've been extraordinary, I would say, throughout all the competition. And there's a possible feat of 4 trophies with which they could end up the season with. And what more amazing than winning 4 trophies in a season? I would say this is just spectacular, something which we are witnessing right in front of our eyes.
I mean, absolutely. Let's start with the ones who couldn't win it, right? We have to talk about Newcastle. What a story! Obviously, there was a takeover, but you have to realize that the financial fair play being so strict, it is not as easy as Manchester City had when it came to rebuilding. But Eddie Howe has turned this team around, a team which was fighting for relegation last year is now fighting for a spot in the top four, and not just that, they could have almost end up with a trophy. The last time they won a trophy, the Queen of England was someone else.
Yeah, I mean, 60 years, wasn't it? 60 years since they last won a
So I think
trophy or something like
yeah,
that.
it's been long. I
Yeah,
need to
60
get a
years if I'm not
right
wrong.
one.
Yeah, it was 60 years in my memory. If I'm wrong, you can put it up in the
Yep, it
chat,
was
guys.
1955 that they won their last major trophy in. I think, yeah, they have
Yeah, so I'm
been
just,
the runners up of League Cup. I mean, there's been a
yeah.
runners-up of FA Cup 4 times in 1990s, but 1955 was the last time when they won the trophy. That's huge for Newcastle. They came so close. The fans that were flocking to the stadium were excited for this one. Unfortunately, things couldn't work out for them, but something for the future, isn't it?
Absolutely, man. I mean, to be very honest, this is a team to take a note of, regardless of what did not go their way yesterday. Just look at that game, right? I'm just going to put you some stats as well on the screen very shortly. The possession was 61 on Newcastle United side. They are next year 1.1 as well. That is a phenomenal stat to have at the end of the day. Regardless of whatever you say, when you're playing at that level, when you're playing that sort of football, I mean, you have to be given credit for that. And that is where I personally believe, I know result did not go their way. Things just, that is football, right? In a final like that, there can only be one winner. You cannot share points as well. And Manchester United were absolutely terrific. It was a master class on what is a counter pressing style of football. It was about pressing in the triggers, winning the ball in the right areas, and counter attacking from those areas. But the kind of pressure exerted by Newcastle United in the second half of the game was amusingly phenomenal against a strong Manchester United team. I know the scoreline wouldn't suggest you that, but then there is something extremely positive to take out of it. I mean, these are developments which you really want to look into the future, right? Playing a cup final, first major step in your development. Secondly, playing and competing in a way, maybe scoreline might not, but the fact is that it could have gone either way. If couple of chances, if at least one chance would have really gone in, it would have been a different game. And David De Gea, man, he steps up in some of these big occasions like this. That's why he's such a phenomenal keeper as well. So just barring those instances, I personally believe Newcastle United is on the right path, and I don't think that you should just tinker around with Eddie Howe. There's a lot of discussion across the Tune army that whether Eddie Howe is a big team manager or whether can he really take a team to a championship, or is he a manager who can win trophies for you? I know these are points which are valid in nature, because we've seen often when a manager who's of a mid-table tire, or when a mid-table tire manager takes a big team. I'm not referring to Graham Potter here, guys. Absolutely not. So so when it takes a big team, he tends to struggle. But Newcastle, it's not like they're a big team, or they are. I'm not, no disrespect there. But the fact is that when you start progressing, there's a lot of hopes. There's a lot of pressure on you, and then you want to compete for titles. You want to win trophies. These are very important factors. Now, as a club, what Newcastle and United are looking is no more qualification or just staying in the league. What they're looking now is to compete in the top four, man. That is a crazy progress in itself, and to reach cup finals and win cup finals. Now, look at Newcastle United 3 years ago and what they're right now. That is what is called a mentality shift and a paradigm shift in what you call as sheer winning mentality, which Eddie Howe and the entire management Saudi group and everybody is just instilled, and leadership group as well. Trippier, Almiron, everybody has been excellent, and Bruno Gomes has been outstanding as well throughout the season. And that's where I personally, as a fan, would like to see Newcastle United play a lot more games, play a lot more cup finals rather, because you really get tested in these kind of big cup finals against top quality sides like Manchester United, against top quality sides like Manchester City and Arsenal, and so on and so forth. So I think this is the progress in the right direction for Newcastle United, and something really phenomenal is awaiting them in the future.
Yeah, I mean, you also have to consider, Abel, that this Newcastle United team was a depleted one. For instance, Nick Pope, their first choice goalkeeper, was suspended
Yeah.
because of that red card incident in the last leg. I mean, last match with Liverpool. We will speak about that, and then obviously Martin Dubraka, who, by the way, incidentally was cup tied, which means he has actually won a Carabao Cup medal because he had played for Manchester United.
Yeah, he
He'll be
did.
the
He
only
did.
one sitting in that dressing room
I bet he went to the
with a
Newcastle
medal.
United dressing room and he danced there, man.
Also by the way, technically Cristiano Ronaldo has also won a Carabao Cup medal, if I'm not wrong. He was
Yes, yes.
also cup tied.
I don't think he has won a
He was
Carabao Cup medal, but I don't think he started for Carabao Cup. But if United goes on to win the FA Cup or Europa League, he will definitely get a medal, even in the Premier League.
yeah. I think we need to
What
check
a
if he
crazy move.
has started a Carabao Cup or not. But if he has, that means he's won a Carabao Cup medal thanks to Eric Ten Hag.
Yeah.
How will that feel when that parcel arrives in Saudi? But let's talk about. I mean, one person we have to talk about is obviously Loris Karius, the player who was disgraced in that final where Liverpool lost that match to Real Madrid. It was really him who stepped up. I know that they ended up giving two goals, one of which, by the way, was an own goal by Sven Botman. But Loris Karius, great
It
performance, isn't
wasn't
it? You
really an
would have
own
said,
goal, man. It was just Marcus Rashford who was just brilliant once again. And I mean, it's just a shame that it's gone as an own goal. But I think it was once again the brilliance of Marcus Rashford, which was the overpowering feature in that goal.
yeah, but let talk me through Loris Karius. I mean, has he redeemed himself to an
Um,
extent?
I mean, yes and a no, but I personally think we are far away from saying he's redeemed himself, because the second ever cup tie finally has played is this one. And uh, I mean, there are various thoughts on that, right? Like, for example, especially when you have a player like Carriers, who really had a horrendous game in the Champions League final in 2018. After that, all the flack which he received, uh, to an extent, it is justified because he was poor. But but I don't think he really
He
redeemed
was
himself.
beyond poor. I think it was just horrible for a goalkeeper to
Yeah, he
do
was.
that at that level.
He was. He was. I mean, there was no doubt about it. But having said that, I personally think there is a long way to go in terms of his development. I'm not sure where he's going to end up playing at the end of the season. But once Dubravka returns to Newcastle United, they'll be much more confident. He being the second keeper over Lars Karius. I think that was one of the factors which kind of depleted Newcastle side going and taking that field, because two back-to-back losses, two 2-0 losses, one to a very depleted Liverpool side that they would never have taken it. But now losing to Manchester United is a fair deal, man. I mean, they're one of the best teams in Europe right now.
Yeah, I mean, next up we're gonna have to talk about Angel Correa because there's a comment right here which says that Abel's new haircut looks like the player on the screen. Abel, if you might just first up look at Abel and let's look at Angel Correa while Abel
Oh
struggles to
my.
do that.
Wait,
Abel,
yeah. Oh my god.
you have to show this on
That's
the screen. It has to. It has to be part of our analysis today. As you all
okay. I
know,
will
our
put up.
theme is new haircut for Abel and new trophy for Eric Ten Hag. But
Yeah.
yeah, Abel, talk me through this hairstyle and how has Angel Correa been an inspiration to you?
Oh my goodness me, man.
Shout out to
Never did
Priyanka.
I ever cross my mind thinking about this dude. I didn't even realize this guy existed for the longest period of time until she decided to remind me today. But yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind. Kind of looks like it. What do you reckon, Jen? I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
get
I
that.
think I think you've done a better job. Your barber's done a better job, but maybe it's also because he's been playing for a long time and the photo was taken.
Hmm. Hmm.
And yours is
It'll
a
be a
very recent hair,
disappointment though.
huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'll get a hair colored as well. Angle color, I did get a hair color. Maybe that's on the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, the new Griezmann of Boom 11 has to be Abel now. So wherever you are, Griezmann, watch out. Abel's going after you with hair color and new hairstyles once in a week. So let's move on. Let's move on to then the defense of Manchester United. They started off with Harry Maguire and Lisandro Martinez, and Lisandro Martinez came under a lot of flack. We also there was Jamie Carragher, one of the best defenders, at least, or one of the best punted defenders in the world at this
The
point.
best defender in the
Um,
world.
well, he said that a player of Martinez's height cannot play in the Premier League. And now
Yeah.
Martinez and Rafael Varane have built up a partnership which is just becoming unbreachable. And all of a sudden, they're making David De Gea look good. So, is it David De Gea was always this bad, or was it Harry Maguire who was just making everyone look good?
Man, let me be very honest because against teams, I think we have to
But
be
you
more
also have to
serious now
factor
because we
in. You also have to factor in Casemiro, who was missing last time around. They didn't have a destroyer. We have
yes,
spoken about him
absolutely.
as well, isn't it?
It's just not destroyer. He's just been the glue to that midfield, which has helped Manchester United maintain the structure a lot more, has made Manchester United a lot more press resistant, and has helped Manchester United to build the ball from the back. Now, when we talk about David De Gea, I think we already had a show on David De Gea when we were talking about the Spanish national squad and why he was out of it. But I'll just reiterate that once again as to why, in my opinion, David De Gea is such a good keeper when he has got good players in front of him. Now, when we talk about Lisandro Martinez, Licha is such a phenomenal player with the ball. Lisandro Martinez himself can actually fit himself into that CDM role if need be on
He
occasion where
has
they're
played
missing a
CDM for
center defensive
Ajax
midfielder.
when need be,
Yeah, he used to
isn't
do
it?
that. He used to do that. Absolutely, he
Yeah.
used to start as a CDM on multiple occasions. So he is one of the best ball playing players in the entire Manchester United squad. Not a ball playing defender. One of the best, definitely the best ball playing defender in the world. One of the best, of course. Technically, extremely gifted as anybody in the world when it comes to his ability. Now, talking about that, alongside Varane was always touch and go. He's not the best ball playing defender in the world, but Casemiro's inclusion into the side, dropping in between, especially to collect the ball, he's the first receiver from the defensive line. So that has made the teams to be the less counter pressing against Manchester United. They're not applying the counter presses as much as they used to do when it comes to maybe, for example, coming up against the former Manchester United defensive line, maybe coming up against a McTominay and a Maguire. Maguire was not the best ball playing player on the field. Now, talking about David De Gea has still got major flaws, man. Let's be very honest about it. David De Gea is still poor on the ball. There's still a lot of ifs and buts about David De Gea. There's no absolutes. There's only ifs and buts about David De Gea, and that is primarily because of the reason that
But I
he's
think that's
still
the thing
a
about David De Gea is a boy from Madrid, and I think that's the thing about boys from Madrid, isn't it?
yeah.
There might be many ifs and buts, but when it's a cup final, it just disappears. It just vanishes.
It's just absolutes, man. Not ifs and buts. It's just only absolutes, might. So just coming on that factor. I think talking about just David De Gea, the keeper, is the best shot stopper in the world. Maybe up there in top three. But when it comes to him, the ball playing goalkeeper, he doesn't fit into a lot of systems. And I personally think he's a leader in the back line. And yesterday you saw his leadership attributes, and I think he should be named the captain of Manchester United going forward because there's a lot of things to like about David De Gea, the leader, David De Gea, the personality in the dressing room, and he's been a legend of this club, man. Whatever you say, he came in as a
Yeah.
youngster. He could have possibly moved to Madrid when he was just
Oh
growing
yeah.
up. Then,
I was
yeah,
just
Apprenti Koshin
coming. I
just
was
stopped
just
him.
going to say this. So, incidentally enough, I mean, you guys must have heard about what happened with Ziyech and Paris Saint Germain.
Yeah,
What actually also had happened once along, I don't remember the season, but everything was finalized for David De Gea to move to Real Madrid, and unfortunately, the paperwork reached late. The facts reached a minute late after the deadline, transfer deadline, and the whole deal fell through. And Real Madrid never got going in the next round. They looked at other keepers. It could have been someone else. It could have been Tom Heaton playing for this Manchester United team, if not for
I'm
that one
actually
minute
a big
delay.
fan of Dean Henderson, and I still think
Could
he's the
have been
next
Dean
man in line.
Henderson.
Able changing hairstyles more than
Oh yeah,
perfection.
Saloni, that's his. As we said here in Boom 11, this is a challenge out there to Antoine Griezmann. Abel is going to come with more fancier hairstyles, and
Yeah.
Griezmann is going to lose out a lot of street cred. So watch out, Griezmann.
Put
That's the thing.
put
That's
C in
the
the chat, guys, if you want me to color my hair. Put C in the chat
blonde.
right now.
You want it blonde or you want it? I think you should color it blue, either
That's
in the
my choice.
Barcelona
That is my
shade
choice.
or
There is no colored. No, there is no
okay, guys. So
choice for the
put in
chat
the
for
comment
that.
section right now if you want it blue in the shade of Manchester City or blue in the shade of Barcelona. I think I've given you this much choice.
How about Blaugrana, man? Red and blue.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the stripes. What do you guys think?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Guys, stop, stop. I'm blocking the chat. Yeah. Okay, either way. But thanks for that. I barely change my hairstyles, but when I do,
Next
it's,
football
I don't
live,
want that
Abel
to be a
should.
discussion point over here. Let's talk about the real man without the hair.
There we
That
go.
is Eric
That
Ten
is
Hag.
it. I think it's guaranteed. Next football live, Abel is coming blonde.
No, no, no,
Um,
no, no, no. As long as there
you
is
said it. You
politics
said
happening,
it.
I
You
can't do that,
cannot
guys.
take it back. You can. This isn't a red card that was given to Ziyech. You cannot take it back. There's no VAR, so it has to.
Please,
Everyone.
guys,
It's a
just
popular
understand
decision.
my situation. I just told you for
So the
fun, but I
next,
will definitely do it maybe in a
the
month's
next
time, but
live,
not
if
now.
Abel does not come blonde, we have the right to heckle him. That's pretty much the underlining right now.
Man, I will think about it. I'll think about it. But it's very sweet of you to spend your valuable time talking about my hair. But let's talk about the man without the hair. It is Eric Ten Hag. And as I was talking about
Yeah.
David De Gea, I personally think um, his system is all about what uh, what it really means is just to play the ball from the back, be more adaptive according to game situation. We got F in the chat. Oh damn! Put F in the chat, boys. Either
F
way,
for respect.
I don't know. I don't know. If in the chat is you should offer respect if you are Twitch, if you watch Twitch very often. But nonetheless, to be talking about Eric Ten Hag's progression, he's one of the most adaptive managers I've seen in recent past in European football, and I think that's one of the
Yeah.
biggest compliments any manager can get, or not from me. Any manager can carry himself onto, but but to be very fair, I think Eric Ten Hag, the manager, is outstanding. He is just a phenomenal character in himself. Man, the scenes what I saw yesterday after Manchester United winning is a scene of one of the most deadliest team preparing its fleet. I don't know how deadly it can be. It kind of gave me vibes of Manchester United of the past, and that's something which I dread as a City fan. I don't want that era starting again. We started our dominance when Manchester United
So
ended their
you know
dominance.
what Eric Ten Hag said when he came up initially, isn't it? Eras
Yeah,
end, and Liverpool's era seemed to be ending.
yeah,
Man City,
absolutely. I think we
the
usually have
next.
our competition with red teams. It was Liverpool, it's Arsenal, and we got another red team on competition. I absolutely welcome it. But I would love to see a lot of trophies coming to Manchester just for the sake. I love see people often have asked me, do I hate Manchester United? I've never ever hated Manchester United. To be very fair, it's one team which is my top three clubs in English Premier League. Maybe in top two rather, I would say, because I never liked Liverpool, never liked Chelsea, I never liked Arsenal. Arsenal's fine, but look, Manchester United has to be top two because I
So
was a
you can't
huge
like
fan of Paul
Arsenal and
Scholes.
Manchester United at the same time, Evil. That's
When
a
I grew
sin.
up watching Manchester United, right? When I started watching football in like 2006, 7, I started
Yeah,
watching
yeah,
that
absolutely.
AIG. I had a T-shirt, and my first one of my first jerseys was Manchester United jersey. Guys, as City fan, I'm not supposed to say that, but it was my first. It was my first one of the first AIG jersey with Ronaldo at the back. And as a Messi fan, I'm not supposed to say that, but yeah, once again, just putting it right there. So that's a very good connection with Manchester United. Fantastic team, always have done well. I was a huge fan of Paul Scholes. I still am one of the greatest midfielders who have taken the field. Huge fan of Park Ji-sung. So after that, of course, when Manchester City came to my life in like 2009, 10, then of course it was like more local team Abu Dhabi and all this kind of stuff. So, but the respect for Manchester United has always been there. There's such a phenomenal team to watch. I was so happy when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer took over. There was a slight rise in Manchester United, but then it fell off very quickly, and I was just enjoying it as it lasted. But now I'm so happy for Manchester United, and I just hope this dominance from Manchester continues. Rather, I hope all the trophies in English football comes to Manchester and more to blue and less to red.
I mean, let's talk about another player, right? Who is just turned things around, and obviously, a lot of people have spoken about him a lot of times. But what do you think of Marcus Rashford? This guy has just changed things around.
Easy.
I think that penalty miss in that
Can we get
Euro.
Marcus Rashford doping tested for the sake of football?
There comes the Man City fan out. Uh, but yeah, you have to. I think the two people who missed the penalty, like Bukayo Saka and Marcus Rashford, have just turned things around. It's almost as if that penalty miss just turned something in them.
I mean, to be very honest, I'd say Marcus Rashford, I thought was a potentially gifted kid who really lost his way. I mean, we've seen that with a lot of footballers, especially wonder kids, right? Who come into
Yeah.
football, who just lose their way through the middle. It's primarily because of their development gets halted to some extent in some way or the other. But then, to be honest, talking about Marcus Rashford, the player he's been, I would say he's been just mashallah, just beautiful. One of the best ever left wingers I've seen in the recent past, man. What a phenomenal player. I'm so happy that he plays for English national team to an extent because I just want him to start now whenever Euros come. I think Euros happening in 1 year. If we can carry this for next 1 year, I think it's possibly coming home for them. So this guy is outstanding as a player. I mean, 2015, I've already mentioned in one of our lives. 2015, when this guy came into the Manchester United setup, I remember, he made an interview, he gave an interview which says, my chemistry exam in the school was harder than the English Premier League football. And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
dude, what on earth is he talking about? Like, is it that easy for him? So if you have to make such a
I mean,
statement,
chemistry can be very audible.
I mean, it doesn't matter, man. Playing English Premier League football and you're scoring goals for fun, it isn't easy, bro. Like Premier League is not
I
everybody's
think that
bread,
is
you know.
that is
Plus,
more of a testament to how tough chemistry can be. I'm a
yeah,
commerce student. That's
yeah.
more. So I think that's credit to Rashford. I would say, yeah.
Yeah, I would say so as well. But that kind of confidence really like put me away for a minute. I was like, oh my god, this guy's got something about him. Like, is he gonna be the next big thing? And definitely, destiny was destined for him that he's gonna be the next big thing. He was considered as Ronaldo, as every youngster who comes into Manchester United wearing number 7 or whatever number, they're gonna be like, okay, he's Ronaldo. And as fate would and as history would say, when you compare a player with Ronaldo, he just goes off the radar. We've seen that
It's
with
a Ronaldo curse
plethora
as
of
well.
players in Manchester United over a period of time, and that's something which I personally don't like. We've seen that with even Valencia, for example, at one instance was compared to Ronaldo. Memphis Depay had come, but then Marcus Rashford, the player, penalty miss, I thought was just disastrous. I thought this is definitely going to make or break him, but it did break him to a large extent last season. And for him to come back the way he's doing right now, one factor again, Eric Ten Hag, I don't know what magical wand does he have that he's been unlocking players who were dead and buried. I have
Except for
no
Harry
idea,
Maguire.
man. Luke Shaw, even Harry Maguire in certain instances were absolutely outstanding. Aaron Van Bissaka, for example, yesterday put up a man of the
Yeah,
match performance defending Alex Saint Maximum. I think, to be very fair, it is just Eric Ten Hag's magic, which is unleashed the sleeping giant in Marcus Rashford, unlocked his potential, And today, what we're seeing in front of our eyes is the growth or is the upward climb of possibly the next big Ballon d'Or winner or the next big superstar in world football. He's just 25, man, and he's got a phenomenal career ahead of him. Salah and all these lads hit prime over 29, 30, and Benzema won a Ballon d'Or at 34. So, age is just a number in these days, modern football. If he stays injury free, there's a Ballon d'Or definitely coming his way. I think 2024 is going to be Rashford's biggest year in his life because there's a Euro. Manchester United might be playing in the Champions League. You never know. If he gets one of them,
Yeah.
Ballon d'Or coming, baby.
And it's always how some of the greatest cup runs or some of the greatest footballing
I mean, and just to
eras
just stop you there, Jared,
began with.
what a story
Yeah.
it'll be for Marcus Rashford, the boy who got racially abused by all his fans, all the people most of the people in England. I'm not saying all the people. That's just a bad statement to make. But most
Yeah.
of the people across the world just for missing the penalty to come back and win the Euros for England. I know that's a big statement, but just to win something for United and maybe even crowned as a Ballon d'Or winner.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about. Let's take this question first from Devjit
Okay, that's a good
Bodke, if I'm
question. That's
pronouncing
a
it
good
right.
question
Yeah,
from
I think
David. I
it's a
think
great question. Diego Dallo, who is the future of Portuguese national team, versus Van Bissaka. What do you
okay, so
think?
I have my take on this. So Van Bissaka one-on-one against players is one of the best defenders. So when if Alexei Maximin's role is to link up play, maybe a player like Phil Foden, for example, who plays on the left-hand region, or maybe I'll bring Gavi as well. Gavi did not play in the second leg, but if there was Gavi, if there was Balde who links up, plays on the left-hand side, that's where Aaron Van Bissaka struggled, and that's where Diego Dallo has got a better edge. So I think the rotation is going to be key for Eric Ten Hag. Pace is with Aaron Van Bissaka, and when you're coming up against pacey wingers one on one, you can possibly stop a player with Aaron Van Bissaka, as you saw yesterday. Aaron Van Bissaka is still not your sure starter, but that doesn't mean Diego Dallo is Diego Dallo is the best player in that squad as well. There's definitely going to be rotation. I think it's going to be up to the competition. I think in certain competition, especially in cup competitions, Van Bissaka will start, and in Premier League it's going to be Dallo because Eric Ten Hag believes he's a little more technically more gifted. He's got the shift. He can actually come back in time for defensive transition, and defensively is much more solid as well. And especially Dallo going upfield gives you a little bit more kind of that assurance because his ability to put the final ball in is much more potent than what you can talk about an Aaron Van Bissaka, and that's something which Aaron Van Bissaka has always struggled because Aaron Van Bissaka was compared to Trent and not Trent right now. Trent right now is compared with anybody in the world, but Trent of 2019-20 when he was absolutely balling it in the Premier League and in the Champions League, and there was definitely comparison as to who should start for England. None of them started for England. That's a different thing. But the factor to be considered over here is Diego Dallo is definitely going to be Eric Ten Hag's Premier League choice, and in cup competitions against some of the pacey wingers, he's going to go with Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
I mean, we have to talk about Eric Ten Hag, right? And we spoke about how some of the managers who come from smaller teams do a great job for smaller teams. When they come up to a bigger stage or a bigger club and the requirements are different, things change. And people spoke about Eric Ten Hag in the same way, isn't it? Where so many glorified managers came earlier and couldn't really crack the problem with Man United, and then you have Eric Ten Hag come up, whose profile wasn't as high. People did speak about how he will struggle, and but look at the signings that he's had, right? What Weghorst or Lisandro Martinez and Anthony. These are players that you wouldn't have expected at Manchester United. Anthony still maybe, but look at Weghorst or Lisandro Martinez. He picks players for what he needs, and
Hmm.
that's the kind of manager he is, isn't it? He is not someone who's flashy, who's very unlike what Manchester United was in between Alex Ferguson and Eric Ten Hag, and that's where
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
went wrong in many ways.
Yeah.
I mean, Jose Mourinho, to his credit, did try to change it, but he did not have the time because a lot of expectations from the fans.
Yeah.
But overall, run me through how Eric Ten Hag has really changed the club. Obviously, there is the fact that he took control of the club. He threw Ronaldo out almost, and he realized that things he prepared for the future rather than for the past. But at the same time, he's maintained a balance. It's not been like how it's been the case with Chelsea, where he's just been planning for the future. He's also got someone like Casemiro who is for the present. So Run me through how Eric Ten Hag is really, or his philosophy has really changed Man United. I know we spoke about it a lot of times, but time and time again, he reminds us of how he's really impacted this club because Brentford 4-0, you did not expect this team to turn around. I
Oh,
think Azul's
I
got
mean,
it right.
Brentford
He is
4
a
0,
manager who
Brighton
commands
4
respect.
1. Was it 4 0, 4 0? 4 0,
4-0 or
4 0 was
4-1?
it
I think it's
Brighton?
4.
4 1, 4 0. Brenton Brightford on August 6th and 12th, and 21st was when the turnaround started for Manchester United. But to be honest, we
It
have a
was
comment which
4-0,
says
April.
ETH commands respect. And I'll just tell you a story about how I think it was Koeman who was supposed to take Barcelona in 2019, and it was right after that season where Erik ten Hag had a phenomenal season with Ajax, taking them to the semi-final. I know he bottled it in the semi-final, but to be very honest, that Ajax team was one of the best footballing teams I've seen in this generation. Just
Yeah.
on the base of runs of a team who was an underdog. But that's where I felt like this guy has got the dog in him. As simple as that. He's got the dog in him to really compete in the big competition, and he can actually take a big team to a bigger trophy. Give him the right players. You could see that in his face. You could see it in the tactics which he deploys, right? Now, when we talk about some of the smaller team managers, no, we didn't mention about Graham Potter slightly. So, when you give up a manager who manages a mid-table team, and if you put him into a bigger team, he often tends to struggle primarily because he often tends to actually get the respect of the bigger names. Now I'll talk you through about Valverde when not Federico Valverde, the manager, when he took over Barcelona from Atletico Bilbao. I personally felt he's a great manager for Atletico Bilbao, kind of standard teams, made them compete really well in the Europa League and everything else, played some really good football there. Similarly, now when we talk about a manager about Kike Setien, or now when we talk about a manager of Graham Potter's stature, a lot of these managers, what happens is that they are coming from a smaller team in comparison to the club which they're going to come to. Now, in this club, you got bigger names. For example, in Chelsea, you got so many names. That's the issue over there. Now, similarly, now when we talk about Erik Ten Hag in Ajax, he was the boss man. It was not about him trying to. So he used to call the shots. If you're bad, you're getting out of the team. Doesn't matter you were De Ligt, you were Frenkie de Jong, you were Van de Beek, you were Ziyech, or you were anybody of that squad. If you were bad, you were getting out of the team, and that was as simple as that. And to entrust someone like Mathis De Ligt with captaincy at the age of 19 in itself showed this guy is a futuristic thinking manager. I remember when Mathis De Ligt, lifted Eredivisie in 2019, and he was one of the youngest captains. He was 18, 19-year old. I'm like, which football team on the planet Earth will give a captaincy armband at any league? Even I'm talking about Indian Super League or anywhere to an 18-year-old and entrusting him to lead the team. Eric Ten Hag chooses people like that. He identifies people, picks them, and he gives you that kind of uh, confidence that you can go out there and do a job. And that's a trait of a high quality manager of the highest level. Now, when we talk about some of the highest level managers, I'm talking about Sir Alex Ferguson, Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho, but especially Sir Alex Ferguson, man. He's got that kind of nature, like Johan Cruyff, that mentality. Now, everything else coming from the Cruyffian school of football, and it's known for its command, it's known for its style of play. But now, when we talk about Eric Ten Hag, the manager, it's all about what a manager should be. Command respect. He's a boss in the dressing room. There is no two ways about it. Regardless of you are the greatest player of this generation, you're the best young player in the team, you're the biggest mortal out there, doesn't matter. In the Manchester United dressing room or in the Manchester United training camp, wherever you are, you only respect Eric Ten Hag. Eric Ten Hag is the last person who takes that final call on whatever the decision for the club, for the playing 11, for the tactics, and there is no questioning that. If you want to question it, you can leave the team. As simple as it. The moment you give him that wheel, you're in safe hands. So far, it's been a brilliant start to that very good highway which they're set up for. I'm not sure, of course, every manager has its slump, and that is sport, right? There is no 100% success, even with the greatest. They see that rainy days. It's just nature of the beast, the sport. But now, talking about Eric Ten Hag, I would put it in a very simple way. As Azil rightly mentioned, a manager who commands respect, and hence he is going to do a great job with Manchester United. He's a manager with a big mentality, and a manager with a big mentality always tends to do well with big teams.
Yeah, I mean, perfectly put there. Final thoughts about Eddie Howe and his management style before we end the live.
I mean, I when I saw Eddie Howe's appointment, right? Like um, it was like it was basically a kind of shocker for me. I was like, Eddie Howe, who on earth is this guy? Is he even gonna? Is he? Are we competing for a relegation? Saudi just took over, guys. Why can't we get Zidane on board or something like that? Which I genuinely felt like that because you need a manager with the respect. Similarly, what I spoke with Eric Ten Hag, right? You need a manager who could come in and change things around. Who the hell is Eddie Howe? That was the first question which came into my mind when this guy came and took over as the manager. But then, boy, he has surprised me. He has surprised a lot of tunes out there in Newcastle. And the way in which he has really put up a structure to this team is the most beautiful thing about it. Now, getting a boatman, Sven Boatman, getting someone like Burn to perform Trippier, and then Bruno Gomes, I think that defensive line to the mid line and keeping mid block at times, even playing with a very pressing, press, they press oppositions pretty well on triggers, and they play one of the most attacking and one of the most beautiful footballs in the English Premier League. Little do you know, it's very rare that you see an English manager deploy those kind of tactics. Usually, you see a Spanish manager and Dutch manager come to English Premier League and put that tactic. It is not like long the ball and inshallah. It's just it's just good football what they play. They maintain a good structure. They maintain a very high line of defenses, but transition wise, they're brilliant so far in the Premier League, and that's where I personally feel Eddie Howe should be given that complete faith. I know they overachieved this season, and it shouldn't take anything away from the factor that Eddie Howe deserves to be in Newcastle United. If they get Champions League football for the next season, it's going to be beautiful, man. I really hope they don't derail their season. They stay in European Common in the Champions. I really want Champions League back in St. James's Park because it's been a long while since the Champions League is back. Last time I saw it was when Santiago Munez scored that free kick in the final day of the Premier League, and when I did not see the Champions League as well in that. but but nonetheless, uh, I really hope it's back at Newcastle United, and it just gives me those kind of vibes, right? Newcastle United, and it's all Toon Army dancing on the tunes of Eddie Howe.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Do you reckon Newcastle has? Oh, I think there's a question for Devjit. Let's take that up first. That was
Yeah,
going to be my last question, but quadruple still on for
it's a
Manchester United. Is that is
yeah.
that is that a pipe dream you would
I
still say? Because I
personally
think
think there
Eric
is.
Ten Hag,
I personally think there
for
is.
me,
Uh, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead, go
for
ahead,
me,
go
I
ahead.
think Eric Ten Hag is not really looking for a quadruple as much as a Champions League position. He
Mhm.
will be satisfied with it, but obviously he won't let it go easy. But for what do you reckon? Do you reckon quadruple is on for Man United?
That silence
Tough one,
itself
yeah.
says, my friend. I don't want to say it, but it is on at this point. Uh, because quadruple means City doesn't win FA Cup and English Premier League. I can't imagine that happening. But but it's very much a possibility, man. To be very fair, winning now one trophy is the right step. Now, if you get FA Cup next, they're playing the fifth round against West Ham on Wednesday. Now you get
Yeah.
that under your belly, you're going ahead once again into another competition deep there. Now, round of 16 against Real Betis, I will put Manchester United right there. They defeated Barcelona, man. I don't think any team in the Europa League should really give them a challenge at this point. They are the favorites unless Arsenal comes and decide. Arsenal or Juventus decides to put a halt onto their beautiful run. Now, talking about Europa League, they have a very good chance. Talking about FA Cup, they have a very good chance. Premier League, if Arsenal and City messes it up, because they both will be playing a fixture each, right? They're going to be playing a fixture against each other one more time. If that fixture ends in a draw,
Mhm.
and then if Manchester United decides to get points against Liverpool, I think the match is very soon. Manchester United was at Liverpool. I'm pretty sure they will get with the kind of form they are in. And now they don't have to play Manchester City or Arsenal anymore. So those two fixtures are off the radar. Now, talking about which means they will be playing Brentford, which is a very tricky fixture. It's a fixture which they lost in the first time as well, right? They got absolutely battered.
Yeah.
That's a different Manchester United team, but I think Premier League is going to be a dramatic end. I have this weird feeling Manchester United are going to go deep. They're going to finish a top two. They're going to finish top two is what I feel. Uh, it
So
could
that
be
one
it
of the
could be
teams
there,
will
yeah,
have to
man.
bottle, isn't
Number
it?
20 coming their way. How many have they won? 22, 21, 21, 22. 22, I think. Yeah, I think it's 22 coming their way. Most likely. If I think it's a little greedy to aim for Premier League, but it is technically possible, and it's possible in all possibilities, man. Because Premier League has got this weird way in which towards the latter end, some of these teams when they try to focus a lot on this European competition, especially City, And I think Arsenal are
Mm.
going to completely focus on Premier League because that's going to be their major goal. City will be focusing on
Yeah.
Champions League a lot more. That's, I mean, City's focus will be slightly off Premier League, and Arsenal will be focusing on Premier League. But then that's going to be a lot of pressure on them. They don't have the depth in their squad to really, fight towards the latter end of the season. If some of them drop 2 games, Manchester United are going to be on top of the league, man. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I mean that's where it's getting so interesting, isn't it? Because you'll also have to think it's not an easy one because the Premier League is really turned around. Because just in the recent again, there was a 2 points lead gifted away by Manchester City after Nottingham Forest draw, but then to come back the way they came back last time again, they had a very good win, 4-1 was it? And obviously Arsenal having a very scrappy win against Leicester. So the parity still remains in the Premier League. That's how things stand. We will talk about it at depth some other day, but today was supposed to be for the Carabao Cup winners and the runners up. So, one final question: do you reckon Newcastle will have Champions League on their way? Obviously, they should have European nights at least, but Champions League, is it coming back?
Yes,
Huh.
yes, coming back. It's as simple as
All
that. I really
right.
hope.
Well, with that bold prediction, we are going to end the live right here. Thank you guys so much for joining, and make sure you download Boomer 11 Fantasy app on Apple App Store and Google Play Store, and you can play without spending any money whatsoever. And that's not all. You get loads of exciting rewards which you can get on the app through the coins that you collect. So make sure you apply your mind and use a little bit of Eric Ten Hag that is there in every one of us and get some rewards. So thank you guys for joining once again, and we'll be back again and again and again because sporting action never ends. So thank you
Yeah.
once again.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. It was wonderful. I was just taking some of your questions and going through the comments. It was hilarious. But I'll see you all very soon and with a new
With a
hairstyle and a
blonde
new
hair.
color.
Uh,
Not now, but I definitely will.